Hey everyone, are you ready to be fired up today? I'm so excited. You are going to learn from one of the top of the line entrepreneurs, Jeff Lerner. He is the CEO and founder of Entre Institute. He is a 2-time 8-figure Comma Club Award winner and also a 2-time Inc. 500 recipient. So we've got Jeff here. If you want to learn how to be the number one entrepreneur in your field, sit back and get ready to be fired up. Are you wanting a kickstart on your business and you want to learn how to be the go-to professional in your industry? Well, guess what? I've got a free challenge for you. It's 5 days of coaching. It's brand new. Just go to KristaMashore.com/client conversion. That's KristaMashore.com/client conversion. And you'll get a free training with me for 5 straight days that's going to help kickstart you as the go-to professional in your industry. So sign up and I'll see you there. Hi, Jeff. Thank you so much for being here. We're super excited to have you. Thanks for being on.
I'm ecstatic to be here. Wouldn't dream of being anywhere else. Thanks for having me.
So your story is actually pretty interesting. It's not obviously not one of mine to tell, but I really think it's, kind of going back to your roots is really important. So first of all, tell us a little bit about, what it is that you do and how you got there.
I would love to do so. Thank you. So I am, as you said, CEO and founder of Entre Institute. And lately I've been describing it basically as, historically entrepreneurship has been what happens when smart, creative people either drop out of school or finish school and go figure some stuff out on their own. I'm trying to change that. I think that there's a more intelligent and structured way to teach entrepreneurship, even with all of its nuances and I guess qualitative aspects. And so that's what Entre Institute is on a mission to do. I started it about 2 years ago. We've had roughly 60,000 paying students thus far. So it's been a big hit, I guess you'd say.
That is just such quick growth. My goodness.
It is. Yeah. We're in the middle of a classic hyper growth story, which I'm happy to be living and also to talk about.
Yes.
But, I guess, to set the stage, back it up. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 16 years old. I had one job. I lasted 3 weeks. It was a summer job. I worked in the office supply room at a law firm. I very quickly realized that, the corporate sort of stuffy corporate environment was not something I was going to be cut out for. And I managed to get myself, I would say it was an act of semi-conscious sabotage. I got myself fired after 3 weeks for, I mouthed off to a secretary or something and she reported me and it was all over. But anyways, I realized, okay, well, that was a nice taste of that. I never want to do that again. So from a very practical standpoint, I was like, I have got to figure out something I can do to get paid and not have to, clock in and work for the man. So I became a professional piano player. I actually dropped out of high school, spent the next 3 years practicing piano 8 or 10 hours a day, literally practiced so much I gave myself arthritis by my early 20s. And ended up gigging through most of my 20s as a professional jazz piano player, was able to get into college, even though I didn't have a high school diploma, which is a whole other story. Ended up getting a scholarship as a jazz piano player and was able to finish college with a degree in jazz piano, which is, not worth a whole lot on the open market, but at least I got to check the box. And then all through my 20s, though, I realized I was never going to make much money as a musician living in Houston, Texas. So I was always starting businesses. I failed at between 8 and 10 businesses, depending on whether you consider certain things I did like actual businesses. I don't know if you consider MLM to be an actual business, but
yes, I do.
Okay. Well, then I failed at about 10 businesses in my 20s. And the final failure was 2 franchise restaurants that I managed to get loans for in my late 20s. And that was right in the Great Recession. Like I got them in 2007. And by 2008, both of the stores were closed. The economy fell off a cliff. And I was holding the bag on $495,000 in debt. And the worst part about that is $330,000 of those dollars were payable to the U.S. Treasury, because they were small business administration loans, which are federally guaranteed. And so when you default on them, you end up basically owing the government. And so it was effectively like owing $330,000 worth of taxes. So,
Oh,
the U.S.
wow.
Treasury, right? So there's nowhere to go from there. I mean, they will make your life a living hell. And for me, I went online. I was living at my ex-wife's parents' house at that. Well, I guess we were still married, but it was kind of like on the fritz and wrapping up. But she was done with me. Her parents were not too keen on me, but they did graciously give me a place to live to try to get back on my feet. And I ended up, sort of in shame and ignominy, I just locked myself in the spare bedroom there and spent about 18 months teaching myself affiliate marketing online. And I was fortunate to get involved in a really good online educational program, one of the early iterations of like the whole online courses, online education industry. And I taught myself affiliate marketing. And that's, obviously where I became a big fan of online self-education, which I'm doing now. And I, by the grace of God and a whole lot of hustle, I was able to pay off $495,000 in total debt in 18 months.
Congrats.
And I've just been doing various forms of new economy business ever since. I did affiliate marketing for the better part of 5 years. I had a digital agency for 6 years, which is where I got my 2 Inc. 5000 awards. I've had Shopify stores. I've done digital, been an online consultant. I've done some coaching. And then finally 2 years ago, I sold my agency, had the proverbial exit, and, was kind of like, I'm good, like I don't have to work.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what do I want to do? And I just decided that the internet and digital business and kind of the whole new economy had been really good to me over about a 10-year stretch. It had, I'd gone from being a broke jazz musician to pretty well set up and remarried and just having a great life. And so 2 years ago, I said, I'm gonna try to teach this to other people. Right? It's not there's no what would the word be? There's no limitation on how many people can get involved in this stuff. I mean, the internet's pretty big and it's growing about 50% a year. So let me teach it. And that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years.
So the Entre Institute, the Entre Institute, is it basically, it's how you teach people how to go online with their businesses?
Yeah, it's not even just online. It's what I call the new economy. Like there's a whole paradigm shift. There's a whole upending of the traditional business paradigm. And frankly, it doesn't matter if you're in real estate. It doesn't matter if you're in insurance. It doesn't matter if you're a plumber. Like there's a whole lot of new stuff that drives business today, and especially marketing. There's all these people that learn skills, or they develop products, or they learn trades, or whatever. But nobody ever says like, hey, here's how you scale a business in a super crowded world where everyone has really short attention spans. Like, no, they don't teach that in any school. And Entre Institute essentially tries to teach that to everyone. We get a mix of people that already have a business, but they're stuck on how to grow it, or people that have a job and they would love to quit it, but they still need to make money. And so they want to start something from scratch. And we take all comers and say, okay, here's how to thrive in the modern world. I
love it. So that's awesome. It's very similar to a business that I'm just launched that
Cool.
teaches professionals and entrepreneurs, local businesses and professionals how to, dominate their industry. So utilizing digital marketing and video. Yeah. All right. So tell me a little bit about, you've just done so well. I mean, going from, 2 years ago to 60,000 students, like tell us, what's the secret sauce?
I'll tell you the secret sauce. And it's very simple, but it's also really hard. It's not easy. It's just simple. When I launched Entre in September, I technically didn't actually launch Entre in September. What I did was I launched my messaging and my communication initiative to try to start building my audience, defining my message, connecting with my avatar, and just really trying to make a ripple in the world so people would know who the heck I was and what the heck I was all about, so that when I did launch and try to sell stuff, there would be people to buy it, right? You
were dating your audience before you were getting married.
Yes, that's exactly right. And so I had a very aggressive effort from September 2018 to the summer of 2019. It was about July before I actually started selling anything. And during that time, I was just pumping out tons of content to the world. And it wasn't even all business. It wasn't all marketing. It wasn't all education. Sometimes it was just me telling a story about something that happened with my kids. And I just started putting it out on the internet, and I invested. This is what I did that made all the differences. Every video I put out, not every, but many of the videos I put out, I would put a little bit of a budget behind them so that I would push the videos out in front of a cold audience. And, inevitably people would be like, who is this guy? Usually you see let's say a sponsored post in your Facebook feed. It's an ad and it's selling something, right? But all of a sudden there's this guy, Jeff Lerner, who's paying money to put a video in your feed that says sponsored.
And you're not selling anything. You're just getting value.
But it's me talking about like my kids or something. And people are like, who is this guy? And why is he talking to me? Why is he and some people are like, why is this guy spending money to put these random messages in front of me? But inevitably people started to tune in, and they started to, kind of decide they liked me, decide they didn't like me. And some of them would comment. And through this forced conversation, I was basically spending my money to force this mass conversation with literally millions of people. I spent over those 10, 11 months, I spent about $25,000 to build audiences of over 2 million people that had seen my videos. And through that, I got a ton of feedback. Inevitably, I got a ton of haters. And that was actually great because it prepared me to be able to kind of handle the visibility and the notoriety that now I'm sort of have been thrust into. But most importantly, it allowed me to get feedback based on all the different types of videos that I put out and figure out, what are people really interested in? What is it about me that people resonate with, they gravitate towards? And I figured out that it's not just people want to know, hey, Jeff, how do I make money, or how do I grow a business online? It's much more like, hey, Jeff, how do I sort of holistically improve my life? It's kind of like a cross between like Tony Robbins meets Russell Brunson meets Grant Cardone meets, I don't know,
Oprah,
Zig Ziglar or Robert Kiyosaki.
All together, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a very comprehensive and holistic conversation. And that's sort of where I found my idiom and started crafting messaging and crafting a specific vernacular and language and bullet points and a framework, and ultimately put together a process. And I'm like, okay, here's how anybody, regardless of what they're doing, regardless of where they're at, can leverage new economy opportunities and start to improve their life. And finally, by summer of 2019, I had a retargetable audience of over 2 million people. I had enough people that knew who I was that I knew I could create a product, and I could get that product out to the market without having to pay the tax that you pay when you try to shove your offer in front of cold audiences. Like essentially I'd warmed up millions of people, right?
Yes.
And so I went and I created a course called the Entre Blueprint. That was June 2019, started selling it in July. And what's that, 16 months ago? And we've sold 60,000 units of that, and we've built other courses and created coaching and scaled really fast.
Wow, that's awesome. So what is your Entre Institute course cost?
The Entre Blueprint is a $39 front-end offer, and we have a couple upsells with that. I don't know how sophisticated your audience is.
They're pretty sophisticated, yeah.
Okay, so I'll break it down. We have a $39 tripwire offer. That's the Entre Blueprint course, which honestly is an insane value. I mean, you go through the course and it's like, I would have paid $1,000 for this, right?
Yeah.
But that's what you do. That's how you do it,
yes.
Right? You build goodwill. We have a couple upsells in there. And then ultimately we have a process. We have a more robust bundle of courses for people that want to learn like specific digital business models. Like if you want to learn affiliate marketing, or you want to learn scaling Facebook ads, or you want to learn how to set up a digital agency and service local businesses, which, I did for 6 years. And that bundle of courses is there's a bundle for $4,000, or you can buy individual sort of curriculum tracks within that. And then we have, coaching and a mastermind on the back end of that. So it's a pretty hardy ascension stack of a business
your value
model.
Ladder is pretty,
goes
low all the way up. Mm-hmm. And
you can spend a lot of money with me if you want.
I get it. Yes. Well, that's the way to do it though. And give as much value as possible. Awesome. So what does your mastermind courses look like? Your mastermind trainings?
So our mastermind is a very intense annual program. It's the only way to actually work directly with me. And it's honestly one of my favorite, most rewarding things I've ever done. It's a group of people that, every morning we check in with each other we use an app called Voxer that you're probably familiar with. It's like walkie-talkie. So
Yeah.
we're talking to each other. We're looking at each other's, funnels and ads and critiquing each other and sharing and pooling resources. We have also like multiple times a month we get together and we do these virtual intensives, which are like, they're Zoom meetings. And theoretically, we do a couple live events per year, but that's been a little tough this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very robust program.
Gotcha. Okay, great. So wow, so your strategy is how I launched my coaching business, same exact way. Free content, free video like crazy before I ever even asked anybody to buy. I always call it, you got to date your audience before you go to a party, you see somebody you like, you don't just go, let's get married or let's jump in bed. You actually talk on the phone and you date them for a while and then you get married or you jump in the bed. So a lot of entrepreneurs skip that very vital start position where you're actually getting to know somebody. So it's good. So Russell Brunson, obviously, you know who he is because you've used ClickFunnels. Your beautiful awards behind you shows that. Kind of talk to us about your journey. I mean, it doesn't seem like you've had very much, it's just all been uphill.
Well, it was uphill because when you start in a pit of fire, there's nowhere to go, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, when I was 28, I was $495,000 in debt. I was overweight. I was depressed. I was going through my second divorce. It was the quintessential rock bottom.
Yeah.
And thankfully, there's two ways you can go at rock bottom. You can slough sideways or you can bounce up.
Yes.
Fortunately, I had some resolve and I buckled down and I managed to bounce up. And yeah, since then it's been a pretty rapid acceleration, but it's still been 12 years. And here's the thing. I haven't taken a day off in 12 years. I love what I do. I love the work. I get antsy on weekends. I get antsy at nights. It's like, when do I get to go back to creating and delivering value to the world? And I think you have to have that sort of obsession because it's hard. It's really hard what we do. And honestly, it's hard enough that it'll demoralize most people, but that's exactly how it's supposed to be because the fruits, the rewards of doing what we do really well are a life less ordinary. It's a life at a caliber and a quality that most people will never touch. And so thus it should be very difficult to access. If it was accessible to everyone, it would be, that would kind of violate the laws of the universe, right?
Yes. And haven't you found, so, one thing, obviously, you create courses and so you understand how valuable coaching and the such is. I would assume that, you said you stuck yourself in a room and you just kind of learned how to do all this. And so, you're practicing what you're preaching, if that makes sense. You're eating your own dog food. You actually are what's the word I'm looking for? But what you teach, you did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was in the choir before I was the pastor.
Yes, right? Exactly. I always say, I eat my own dog food. So that's so nice. It's amazing too.
I was a self-taught piano player. Like when I decided, hey, I'm not really down with this job thing. I'm going to go become a musician. I basically started then. Like I had played some guitar before that, but when I was 16, I had this kind of epiphany. Like I need to be a musician because I at least knew that I was pretty good at music, but it's not like I had been, I was already some virtuoso piano prodigy kid. So, I mean, I dropped out of high school and I practiced like 8 or 10 hours a day. That's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
So I was really, and I was self-taught. I bought a book at a bookstore called The Jazz Piano Book by Mark Levine. And I can still to this day, if you say, Jeff, play me a Phrygian cadence in all 12 keys, I can do it. Like I just drilled it. I made note cards of every single chord, every single harmonic progression. Like I was obsessed and I spent thousands of hours sitting at a keyboard teaching myself how to do this very, very complex thing, which is jazz piano. So then fast forward a decade, 2008, what am I doing? I'm sitting at a keyboard teaching myself this very complex thing, only now it's a computer keyboard. And I had an intrinsic understanding of how much work it's supposed to be.
But see, you have something that most people are not willing to do. It's like most people want the success, but they're not willing to do what it takes to get there, right? I mean, that's the only difference between successful people, in my opinion, and people who are not, is that people that are successful are willing to do what people that aren't as successful, they're not willing to do it. Because if you keep pushing and you keep working and you keep trying, eventually you'll succeed. Even though you're going to fail a million, you will. There's no other, like you said, you were rock bottom and came up. But I love just the drive that you have. I mean, not all people have that kind of drive. I've noticed that not everyone has that drive. Where do you think it comes from?
For me, I think it came from a couple places. One, I had really successful self-made parents. My mom was an attorney. My dad was a money manager. They both came from, I would describe it as probably lower middle class, working class, probably the better word, working class families. They both put themselves through school. They both were really successful. But they also both were very matter of fact with me. That's like, hey, son, you have a nice childhood, but you need to enjoy it, because when you turn 18, we're going to tough love you out of the nest, and you're going to, have to do what we did, which is really fend for yourself. But I had great models growing up. And then the other thing was that job, man, those 3 weeks at that job, like I would have rather had my toenails ripped out every single day for the rest of my life than have to go do that again. I don't know why. Just the idea, I compare it to being in a narcissistic relationship. If you're dating someone and they tell you where to go, and they tell you where to, what to wear, and they tell you when you can use your phone, and they tell you what words you can say, and that's a narcissistic, abusive relationship that any reasonable person would say you need to get out of that. But for some reason, we sign up for that arrangement with our employer.
Yeah,
and it's fun.
Good point.
So yes, I don't know. I couldn't hack that.
Good point. Well, great. Okay. This has been great. So the Entre Institute, and if somebody wants to download your wonderful lead magnet, how would they, what's the best place somebody can get in touch with you?
So we actually put together a page just in case you ask that question. If somebody goes to millionairesecrets.com/Krista M, for obviously your name, millionairesecrets.com/Krista M, they're going to be able to do 3 things on that page. They're going to be able to get my free lead magnet, which is a downloadable book called The Millionaire Shortcut, which essentially in less than 20 pages articulates my framework of how to do what I've done. And they can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, and they can also subscribe to my podcast.
Great. Okay. So there you have it. So, thank you so much, Jeff. It's been really great having you. I love talking to people that are successful and that have, kind of gone from the bottom and worked their way up in life. So good for you. And I love how we all know that contribution equals growth, and you're contributing to the world. So you're growing really rapidly because of it. So I always ask everyone to kind of leave with one small tip that they can give, whether it's business, personal, anything at all. It doesn't have to be business. What would that advice be?
Actually, I think you just touched on a really good one. I've been financially successful, let's say, for a little over a decade, by most people's standards. But in terms of fulfillment, growth, and actual raw financial success, nothing has touched the last 2 years since I 100% pivoted into service first, and whatever comes. Like I just serve now. That's all I do. And since I took that tack on the world, it's amazing how much it's repaid me and then some. It's true. It's so true. Zig Ziglar said, "Help enough other people get what they want in life, and you'll get everything you could ever want out of life." And it could not be more true.
So true. Thank you. So you heard it. Contribution equals growth. Give and you shall receive. That's not what we give. It just happens. It's a universal law. Thank you so much for spending your time. Jeff, you have been great. Really appreciate you. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. It's been great.
Yeah, you're the best. And everyone, thanks for listening and for being here. I know your time is so precious. So thank you so much for spending it with Jeff and I. Make it a great day. And remember, listening is wonderful, but implementation is key. See you soon. Hey there, I have a brand new podcast called F.I.R.E.D Up with Krista Mashore, where I bring my high energy right to your ears. This podcast is available on all your favorite podcast platforms. So do me a favor, go subscribe and leave a review. All this information is free, and I cannot wait to teach you everything I know. Thanks so much for watching my video. You can learn more about how to be a successful real estate professional by watching other videos that I have. And be sure to subscribe to my channel. And as always, make it a great home selling and buying day.